Star Wars Outlaws has been unleashed upon the world, and over the past long weekend, I checked out a couple of people streaming it, and well, it was interesting. It was actually kind of interesting because there were a lot of people interested in the streamers. I watched Mahler for sure. Shout out to him. He played the game, and there was like, depending on the day, I think I checked out some on Saturday. He was playing on Saturday. It was like, I seen it peak at about 2,800 people checking him out over there. That's pretty good. Okay, like he does fairly well on his gaming streams, but that's on the higher end. So yeah, there are people interested in seeing the gameplay, and myself being one of them, because I wanted to see, are the critiques of the game valid? Is it just Ubisoft's shady business practices that's hanging a dark cloud over this game, or is it as bad as the glitches and the pre-release promotional material leads us to be? I can say, based on the few hours that I watched the gameplay, that I listened to the writing, it's as bad as it promised to be from those debut trailers. My God, some of the dialogue, it's so on the nose, and Kay doesn't shut up. Everybody reinforces how great and wonderful she is. There's a suspicious amount of women everywhere. All the guys are seemingly evil or brain dead, and the droids come across as the most actually human beings. So it's your typical modern Star Wars. So regardless of who's handling the IP, there seems to be a consistent through line by the way that they write their characters. And yeah, the gameplay, it's just boring, bro. Okay, I've seen a fair few glitches. Okay, Mahler got stuck behind a wall that phased in, and then he got caught inside this little pen and had to reload a checkpoint. Like, okay, that's bad. Okay, but not as bad as the actual gameplay itself. Like hiding in shin high grass, and oh, you can't find her anymore. Where did she go? And then her running like she has, a full diaper. It's embarrassing. And as such, I wanted to see, how many people were playing this over the weekend. And because, at least on PC, the Ubisoft exclusive, so you'd have to fire up whatever Ubisoft calls their thing, Ubisoft Connect, it used to be Ubisoft Plus. However, the people were playing it, okay, they were deciding to go over there to play it on PC. So we can't have, Steam chart or anything like that because it's not on Steam quite yet. But we can take a look, okay, on the two big platforms, okay, at least on the console side of things, how everything's all shaken out over this weekend and what everybody was playing. And well, I can tell you this, in all certainty, on the PS5, wasn't necessarily playing Star Wars Outlaws, I can guarantee you that, okay? You got Fortnite, you got Call of Duty up there at the top, you got Black Myth Wukong in at fourth, which was, it was crushing some numbers, but need not destroy this game any further. But yeah, a lot of old games, okay? Minecraft, a Rocket League, Overwatch. What are we, 10 years removed from anything, recent? Valorant, at least, hey, it's a new port. It's a new port, fresh to consoles. You had the PS5 pack-in game, Astro's Playroom. That's kind of strange. And oh, there's Star Wars Outlaws, 25th on the top 40. Oh, that's really not good. That is really not good, but at least it's a little bit better over on the Dead platform. Okay, it makes the top 20 debut squarely at 19th. Oh, it sneaks in. It's more popular than Halo Infinite. Oh God, how far has that franchise fallen? Don't worry. I guess it's the best performing new-ish release. Like, I don't see anything that really, like Diablo 4 came out, what was that, last year or 2022? Atlas Fallen, I think that sounds familiar-ish, but none of these games ring any bells. People are still playing Elden Ring like months after the DLC dropped. Star Wars Outlaws, man, not doing good. It's not doing good. And Ubisoft in general, like we talked about this as well, like the failure that they had at the beginning of the year with Skull and Bones, the first quadruple A release, okay? We spent so much money on this, and that's why we have to have these elaborate pricing schemes. That was supposed to be unique to Skull and Bones, but then they just ended up putting it on every other big release that they had throughout the year. We're seeing how well that works because Skull and Bones, recently with the Best Buy sale, was on for $10, and Star Wars Outlaws not exactly burning up any sales charts, at least on the console side of things. Maybe they're doing gangbusters on PC. We'll never know for sure. But one of the other games that released in the gap that at least people were somewhat excited by, XDefiant, one of those Twitch shooters, not like the platform, but like when it comes to FPS, fast action movement, something along the lines of CSGO, but not quite as sweaty. It was supposed to fill that gap that, some either disaffected Rainbow Six Siege players looking for an alternative could go over to, or to just try to leech people off of, those well-established FPSs, but continuously declining player numbers and lack of player spending, is kind of painting a picture that XDefiant is XDefiant right now in 2024. Another one of Ubisoft's major releases this year appears to be mightily struggling, as a new rumor claims that the company's XDefiant game is seeing continuously declining player numbers and lack of player spending. Yeah, imagine that. You prioritize monetization over actual gameplay and you get what you deserve. This rumor comes from Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming that claims that internally optimism for the game has shifted primarily due to the game's continuously declining player numbers and a lack of player spending. Henderson reported that one source informed him that the game has been struggling to obtain 20,000 concurrent players across all its platform. Concord out there is somewhere going, how can we get to those, what you would call low levels? Another source shared Ubisoft, would probably be happy with that number. This suggests that the current numbers are actually much lower than 20,000, so they're struggling to obtain it. But I guess if you're getting 8,000 players, I'm just spitballing here, you would consider that struggling to obtain 20,000. In fact, Henderson also shared that if the game does not turn things around by Season 3, it risks losing its much-needed post-launch support. Yeah, exactly, because Ubisoft, well, they need to go ahead and throw as many resources behind Rainbow Six Siege, because it's going to take an awful lot of development to build all of those handy-capable access ramps for their new operator, and to help defend a lot of those Stop Asian Hate lawsuits that are going to be coming out in November. For comparison, other team shooters, such as Apex Legends, are regularly above 50k. Apex clocked in 192,783 players in the last 24 hours. Valve's Deadlock, which is apparently quite popular. Okay, I'm not interested. It's been a long time since I've wanted to play an FPS. And at this point in time, I wouldn't even know where to start. Okay, way too many hours have been spent by the people perfecting all of these games, and I would just go in and get dog walked. That was never great at COD, but COD after Halo. Oh yeah, it would definitely be probably the most time spent for me would definitely be Halo, then COD, and then probably Battlefield underneath that. I really liked 1 when it first came out. Like BF1 was fantastic. That was probably like the newest FPS that I picked up and played at release. So whenever that came out, I love gaming. It's just I'm kind of an old head when it comes to stuff. I'll just play my RPGs, my JRPGs, and it'll just be fine. Okay, all these Twitch shooters, that's for the kids. CS2, had over 1.3 million concurrent players in the past 24 hours. PUBG had 589. COD 79. But they're so spread out across everything where that's just on the PC front where you're gonna have domination by Counter-Strike and PUBG. But when it comes to Apex, way that I've heard Apex get broken down is that console players, controller players, they get quite the advantage when it comes to aim assist on clown sticks, but that's a totally different can of worms. Overwatch 2 had 51,000 players, in the last 24 hours. Even Siege had 58,000 concurrent players in the past 24 hours. So XDefiant find a bit of a death. Henderson went so far as to claim that internally many employees believe that layoffs are around the corner, especially at Ubisoft San Francisco. Layoffs? We're talking layoffs? We're just trying to get 20,000 people to play our game, which ends up kind of feeling the worst for the creative studios behind Star Wars Outlaws, because you can see, 19th most popular game over the long weekend on Xbox, 25th over on PS5. Was it 25th? We just got to double check that again. Yep, in fact, 25th right there. It's going to have a long-term struggle because games like this, games that are just such a slog, Ubislop itself, like who's gone back to play through Far Cry 4 again? Like, it was decent. I will never pick that game up again. Who has an annual playthrough of, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood? No, exactly. These are games that you play through once, and, it's fun. You can dump a couple dozen hours if you want to, power wash the entire map. But you never go back to them. Like, for For as often as people, point to Far Cry 3 with Voss and his memorable character, he wasn't even the big bad at the end of the game. I played through that entire game. I loved that experience. I don't remember the final boss's name, and I'm not exactly incentivized to go back to figure out who was the final boss of the game. So unless this game goes on deep discount very, very quickly, it's just going to be another one of those Star Wars games that people are going to look at and go, isn't there like 12 of those that come out every year? They don't really much matter. Star Wars Outlaws, yes, from Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment, is out on PC, PS5, Series X and S, yes, to a 76 on Metacritic, which is interesting, which represents a very lukewarm reception to the open-world Star Wars game. But kind of funny, right? Because shout out to the manga lawyer learning the law. He's pointing out that the only reason that Star Wars Outlaws doesn't drop below a 7 because that is incredibly generous at best. Even when the game is functioning perfectly, it's like a 5. It's not great. It's passable. Just unexceptional on every level. Yes, it doesn't drop below a 7 on Metacritic is because, well, you can take a look just in that screenshot right there. You have 5 different IGN outlets, one giving it a 90, IGN proper giving it a 70. When you compare that to the user score of 4.7, which is probably a little bit more accurate, you have review bombing in a positive sense that these outlets never want to talk about. It doesn't bode well for Ubisoft, who no doubt spent a very pretty penny between licensing and the game's development. Exactly. Well, the game is selling, we don't know. I'm sure we will very shortly because, there's going to be an investor's call and there's going to be some gritted teeth on Yves Guillemot's side of that conversation. But those who have purchased the game have found all types of issues with it, technical and gameplay related. For example, the save system in the game is not very generous, and as a result has been frustrating for players. Yeah, it's quite flumpy for what I'm seeing, but in kind of the traditional sense. So if you're an old school quote unquote gamer, like you'll get a save before you enter a mission and then after you've completed a mission, which is kind of fine. But if it's one of these long ass fetch quest type missions where, you need to get off world, well, you need to go and you need to secure this part from this lady, but before she gives you this part, you have to go talk to this other guy who's got this part for her, and no, actually you need to fix my droid first and bring him back. So yeah, if you're not getting regular autosaves when that is supposed to be a feature of modern gaming, and you end up getting shot or you glitch into something, you've just lost 20 minutes on a fetch quest, and that will disincentivize people from playing just like that. Even if I'm enjoying a game and I just end up getting, locked out, experienced too many consecutive cheap kills, even if I like a game, I'm just done for the day. It's like, okay, we'll try this again tomorrow, don't worry about it. If that keeps on piling up and happens far too consecutively, well, you just made it so that I'm not seeing your game through, and potentially the next game you release, probably not going to check out until I see that problem get rectified. Over on the Star Wars Outlaws Reddit page, which I thought that they were quieting dissenting opinions. One of the most popular posts highlighted the game's save system and everything wrong with it to this end. The post aptly points out the constant and annoying restrictions on manual saves. Yeah, that's another big problem, okay? Even for the game that I love that came out this year, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you can only have 10 save slots. It's like, save data, okay, on a modern game ain't that big still. Okay, you're dealing in hundreds of kilobytes. Crack that shit open. Give me like 100 save slots for Christ's sakes, because I want to save at like certain points where I want to go back and revisit. And now that I've started a brand new playthrough, it's like, I'd like to also have, double safe saves that are on there. Even though that save system is generally pretty good, but when it comes to just the old RPG player at heart, I just save a lot myself, manual saves, and it's pretty easy. Press start and you press triangle, and it's just it. Anyways, the amount of progress you lose when you die or get caught is a problem, reads the title of the post. I just spent a half hour clearing out an Imperial base and alerted a guard at the end of it to get and got into a shootout where I died, and then the game spawns you back fully outside the base, so I lost about a half hour, and then again I lost like 15 minutes. Happened a few times before on smaller gang areas, and that's when I was watching Mahler's gameplay, actually it was more or less just listening to some of it as well. I was out on a run. There was one line of dialogue. He was trying to, some chick smuggler, because of course needed to go. She was a splicer. Yes, splicer. She was in an Imperial base and didn't let Kay know that. And oh my God, hearing that dialogue over and over again regardless of how far you would get into the mission. Yeah, I was getting insufferable. It would have been one of those things where I just either would have tuned it out if I was playing the game, or I just would have switched to something else. This game, man, I've seen it in action. I've heard it in action. I've witnessed all of its glory in clips and in promotional material. Ubisoft, just like they have with XDefiant, with Skull and Bones, and with the upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows, is going to have a tough 2024, and I can envision a future where they're going to be up on the sale block, and I don't think that's going to be that far away. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.